Hi, this is Reapso Video, and I'm Theodore Ross, Editor-in-Chief of the Food and Environment Reporting Network, or FERN. I'm here in Park Slope, Brooklyn, where, much like Lake Wobegon, the kids all have perfect SAT scores because their parents pay good money for them. My guest today is Elliott Woods. He's the reporter on Bats and the Blue Agave, the fifth episode of Buzzkill, FERN's podcast series on the pollinator crisis. Hi, Elliott. Welcome to Reapso.
Hey, Ted. Good morning.
Thank you. Your episode has a large number of reporting revelations in it, probably the biggest being that the bats are involved in the production of tequila. But seriously, what you report on is about the widespread cloning of agave plants and how it puts the tequila-producing region of Mexico at risk of disaster. It's like a perfect case study of the risks and shortcomings of industrialized agriculture and monoculture. So tell me, Elliott, why this story?
Well, I got to go to Jalisco, the state in Mexico where most of the blue agave is grown to make tequila, back in about 2012 or 2013 for a story about tequila production, about the tequila industry and the growth in the industry and various problems that was causing. And originally that story was supposed to also have something to do with bats. But in the end, I was just the photographer on the story. And at the end, the bats got cut from the story. And I always thought, well, there's something really cool going on there that I would really like a chance to get back down and look into. And so when FERN came up with this idea for a podcast about pollinators and said, hey, do you have any ideas? I said, yes, bats.
Very good. And what would you say was the biggest obstacle to your reporting on this particular podcast?
The biggest obstacle for the reporting for this podcast was definitely climate change and its effects on the blooming cycle for the agave flowers, and consequently where the bats are going to be at any particular moment. So I had made arrangements to visit a cave in the north of Mexico, the far north of Mexico, where mother bats deliver their baby pups usually in around June. And unfortunately, a massive hurricane hit the Gulf of Mexico at that time and came so far inland that the road to the cave where I was supposed to visit was completely destroyed. So I couldn't go there. That was one climate change effect. And then I had also made plans to go in late June to a place in Jalisco where agave cultivators were letting their flower stalks grow, which is a big part of the story in the podcast. Usually they cut these flower stalks off. This is how the agave plants reproduce naturally. That's how they sexually reproduce. They've been cloned for generations, which involves cutting off that flower stalk. It's too much detail to get into now, but if you want to learn more about it, definitely listen to the podcast. Anyway, one of the major objectives that I had was to get down and see one of these agave farms where the cultivators were allowing these 10-foot tall, 12-foot tall, huge flower stalks to grow and blossom so that the bats could come and pollinate them. The problem was the flowers were weeks late. So the scientists who I was talking to for the story had people going out there to check on the flowers, and they kept sending him photos saying, hey, these things should be fully bloomed by now, and there's just buds. Sorry, you can't, there's no point in coming right now. So I had to do a lot of rescheduling to figure out how to just deal with the fact of climate change in this story.
I understand. Elliott, what would you say is the takeaway to this work of reporting that you did? What should we think about it?
For me, the biggest takeaway from this story is that human beings in the modern era, the contemporary era, have convinced ourselves that we can control for everything through science and technology and our own native human genius. And the reality that is abundantly on display in tequila country is that attempting to manipulate the world and shape the natural world to our ends has an infinite number of consequences that we can't really plan for and that we can't then control for after the fact. And that often the simplest and best thing to do is to let nature do as much of the job that we need as possible. And in this case, that is pollinating these agave plants and allowing them to reproduce sexually so that they develop enough diversity in their genetics to be able to cope with the challenges of climate change that I was just talking about, from drought to higher temperatures to various other things. So, there's Occam's razor is this idea that the simplest solution is often the best one, the correct one, and put simply. And in this case, that's definitely true.
Well, thank you very much for that, Elliott. I think everyone out there should please check out this episode of Buzzkill. It's 5 down, and we only have one more to go. So it would be a Buzzkill if you missed out. If you want to listen to it or the whole series, you can find it on Reapso or on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want to learn more about FERN's dispatches from the front lines of food, farming, and the environment, or you want to donate to support our work, go to www.thefern.org. Thanks very much.